Have you ever thought about how an art form could tell the entire story of an empire? I mean, its ambition, its passions, its rise, and even its transformation. Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today, the stunning world of Mughal painting.
So what exactly is Mughal painting? At its heart, it's this incredible fusion of Persian Islamic traditions and native Indian styles. But here's the thing, this isn't just religious art, not at all. It's a secular, super refined window into the lavish lives, the culture, and the worldview of one of the most powerful dynasties in history.
You really can't talk about this art without talking about the emperors who paid for it. The story of Mughal painting is their story too. From the founder who planted the first seeds, to the connoisseur who perfected it, and finally to the rulers who had other priorities, each emperor's personality is literally stamped right onto the art of their time.
All right, so here's our plan. We'll start with its Persian roots, watch it totally explode under Akbar, see it hit its absolute peak with Jahangir, and then explore what happened next, its incredible, enduring legacy.
So what makes a Mughal painting, well, Mughal? It really moved beyond the abstract floral patterns of its Persian roots. Instead, it's zeroed in on gorgeous calligraphy, the natural world, and these incredibly vibrant scenes of life inside the imperial court. This was art that was all about celebrating the here and now.
And our story really gets going with Emperor Humayun. So he gets exiled to Persia, right? And while he's there, he's just soaking up all of its amazing artistic traditions. But here's the kicker. When he finally comes back to India to take back his throne, he doesn't come back alone.
Now let that sink in for a second. The very foundation of this super iconic Indian art form was laid by two Persian masters. Humayun brought them over to India to start up an imperial studio, and just like that, the stage was set for this unbelievable blend of cultures and art.
Okay, so if Humayun planted the seed, his son Akbar, well, he grew a whole forest. Seriously, Akbar's reign is considered the golden age. It was all about energy, dynamism, and an obsession with telling these huge, epic stories. And it wasn't just for entertainment. It was a smart political move, a way to unite a massive, diverse empire under one shared visual culture.
You gotta understand, Akbar wasn't just some guy who bought art. He was more like an industrialist of art. He knew that to create this grand, unifying culture on a huge scale, he had to build the entire infrastructure himself, right from the ground up.
And get this, he put together what was basically an art factory. We're talking more than 225 artists, painters, calligraphers, bookbinders, all of them working together.
And what was their #1 goal? To create these epic illustrated manuscripts. And none of them was more legendary than the Hamzanama, which tells the story of the adventures of Hamza.
This single project was just a huge statement of imperial power. We're talking 1,400 massive paintings, and every single one was a detailed, action-packed scene. And it took them 14 years to finish it. This wasn't just making pretty pictures, no way. This was a declaration of the empire's cultural might and its incredible ambition.
So, how do you possibly follow an act like that? After the grand epics of Akbar's time, his son Jahangir comes to the throne, and he has a completely different artistic vibe. His reign was pretty stable, so the focus of art shifted dramatically. It's like they went from a wide-angle lens on history to a macro lens on the natural world.
I mean, the contrast couldn't be clearer. Where Akbar wanted action-packed stories to build an empire, Jahangir, who was a passionate naturalist, wanted these refined, almost scientific observations. He was way less interested in fables and much more interested in getting the feathers on a falcon just right or capturing the subtle character in a courtier's face.
Under Jahangir, artists became hyper-specialized. You had masters like Mansour, whose studies of birds and animals are just legendary for their accuracy. Then there was Bisham Das, who was famous for his incredibly lifelike portraits, and Abdul Hassan, who perfected those grand imperial scenes.
And the whole aesthetic just softened. Those dynamic, bold colors from Akbar's era gave way to more delicate lines and softer color palettes. The art became more intimate, more romantic, and more personal. It really reflected the emperor's own tastes. This was the absolute peak of Mughal painting's refinement.
But you know how it goes? After hitting such a high point, things started to change. The empire's priorities began to shift. All that money and artistic energy started to move away from the painter's studio. Under Jahangir's son, Shah Jahan, the #1 imperial passion became architecture. I mean, painting was still around, but it lost some of its vitality. It became a bit more formal, a little more rigid. All that raw energy and innovation was now being channeled into breathtaking monuments, like the Taj Mahal.
And the final imperial blow came under Emperor Aurangzeb. His orthodox rule just didn't have much room for this kind of lavish courtly art. The patronage, the money, it dried up completely. The grand imperial workshops, which had been the heart of Mughal painting for over a century, just fell silent.
But this is not the end of the story. Not by a long shot. Because while the imperial studio faded away, the seeds that had been planted over generations were about to blossom in new and totally unexpected ways all across the Indian subcontinent.
So as that imperial support disappeared, the highly skilled artists from the Mughal court spread out. They found new patrons in regional kingdoms, which led to the birth of vibrant new schools of art, like the romantic Rajput school in the north and the sophisticated Deccani schools in the south. Each one blended that refined Mughal style with their own unique local traditions.
And maybe the most enduring legacy of all was the idea of realistic portraiture. This concept, capturing the likeness and the character of an individual, was a revolutionary idea that the Mughals made famous, and it became a central theme that would influence Indian art for centuries to come.
You know, the story of Mughal painting really shows us how art is a mirror for its time, reflecting the values, the ambitions, the obsessions of the powerful. It's a vivid historical record. Which, of course, leads to a pretty interesting question. What stories will our art tell future generations about the world we're living in today?